to say a few words, that will be wonderphil. This is a launch party, so let's have a bit of fun with the Q&A as well. And it's really a celebration of the launch of Global 2. So, right, good afternoon.
Steve, I'll kick this off by saying, first of all of the authors, everything begins with the word. All of your stories were incredible. They were amazing. They were completely Holmesian. And it was my pleasure, my honor, to be able to find the incredible artists all over the world and match the artists to your work. All of the artists that we have here have just created something specifically, uniquely, and only your story. So the authors thank the artists. Artists thank the authors, but you all are a great team. And it was great to have you all as part of our book. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for selecting my work and contacting me. I really appreciate it, Phil. I had a really great experience producing the art. So thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you everybody for this great opportunity.
Fantastic. It's really great to get everybody online. And if we start maybe with a little summary of the background of the art of Sherlock Holmes. You've heard his voice already, first in the night, Phil Growick. Phil, do you want to just give a little introduction of how you came up with this amazing idea?
Well, I had written a couple of Sherlock Holmes novels already that Steve was good enough to publish. And my whole career in the advertising world, I'm a writer. I've been working with artists and illustrators, photographers all over the world. I'm the chairman of Art in Public Places for West Palm Beach. And I wanted to do something for the artists here, to publicize my city and to help them. And I spoke with Steve when I came up with this idea. He said, terrific, let's do it. So we started with the artists in West Palm Beach. It was so successful, I said, Steve, why don't we shouldn't stop here. Let's do the United States. So we got artists from all over the United States. And why should we stop there? So we did our first global and then Global 2. It's as simple as that. And the pleasure for me to find all of you artists, wherever you are, and to get you to join this incredible experience for all of us, it's been totally my pleasure. And Steve's, of course, to put everything together.
Oh. Okay.
So as Phil mentioned, it's been a bit of a whirlwind over the last 18 months, putting these projects together. And we now have 56 stories, which by sheer luck is the same number of short stories that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote. So he wrote 56 Sherlock Holmes short stories. We have 56 pieces of art split across the 4 editions. So we started with West Palm Beach, then USA, then Global 1, and Global 2. And we're putting all of the art together in a virtual gallery. Of course, we're under the pandemic now, so art galleries in most of the world are closed. But we've been able to put together the collection into the Art of Sherlock Holmes virtual gallery. And what's amazing is that over the last 18 months, quite a lot of the pieces have sold. And in fact, hopefully we can give you a wonderful story that one of the pieces in Global 2 is already sold. Which is fantastic. So what we would encourage everybody to do, we're going to be loading tomorrow the Global 2 pieces into the virtual gallery. The virtual gallery already has 43 pieces in it today. You can go into the gallery, you can walk around it, you can look at the pieces, you can link it to them and link to the merchandise. And in the next few days as well, they've done an upgrade. We should be able to link across to the artists' own sites as well, directly from the virtual gallery. So it's a really cool addition to the project. A little bit of the background to MX Publishing. We're a social enterprise. And when I started discussing this with Phil, Phil really loved the idea of giving some of the proceeds from the sale of books and the merchandise out to our causes. And Phil added one of his own passion projects as well to that. So we have 4 key causes. Happy Life Children's Home in Kenya, which is a project which rescues abandoned babies in Nairobi. And Sharon, my wife, and I, we spend every Christmas there. So the last 8 years, we've been traveling to Kenya and spending time with the kids. Phil's passion project is the American Cancer Society. We also support the Stepping Stone School, which is in the former home of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. It's actually the building where he wrote most of the stories, and The Hound of the Baskervilles and many of the others. And we also have a global project as well, which is the World Food Programme, for which I'm a technology mentor. So I'm involved in some of their projects. And we thought we'd put a little picture here of, this is taken a few weeks ago, the Happy Life kids planting trees. So part of our fundraising goes into a project that my wife founded called Books to Trees. And it's an opportunity for us to help them plant trees in the compounds where the kids are growing up. And at the moment, they're planting banana trees because under COVID, they're keeping social distancing. It means that they can grow more of the food that they need for the kids actually on the compound. One of the things that we're trying to do is have a lot of fun with the art of Sherlock Holmes. So we're launching a range of collectibles based on the art. So you can see here, this is the first piece of art, which we're going to go and talk a lot more about in a moment, which is David's piece, which is called The Adventure of the Burning Man. And you can see here that on the left-hand side, we have prints. The prints are actually produced by the family estate of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote the Sherlock Holmes stories, Conan Doyle Estate. And they have all of the prints on their website. So all of your art is now on the website as of ready for today. So fans all over the world in any country can go on there and buy a print. They know it's an original print, authenticated by the estate themselves, and it carries the Conan Doyle Estate seal on the actual print as well. So it's fully authenticated. We've also launched some fun stuff. Tote bags, t-shirts, mugs, and interestingly, the most popular item under the pandemic, not a surprise, are masks. So we've sold more masks on our collectibles than any other item, more than pretty much all of the items put together. So over the course of tomorrow, we'll be loading up all of the Global 2 art into the collectibles as well. So let's get on to Global Edition 2, which is the artists and the authors that are on the line today. So the official launch is on the 30th of June, but we're having this launch party a few days before. 13 pieces of art, 13 Sherlock Holmes stories, representing a whole host of countries from around the world. And we have most of those countries online with us today. For us, it's the afternoon. For the US, it's the morning, and for those further east, it's already in the evening. So I just wanted to take a picture of the book that's sitting right next to me here on the table, and we're very pleased to have Mark on the line as well. So when we get to Mark's piece, he'll be able to tell us about this amazing piece. The books themselves are really pioneering. So that when you get your copies in the mail, you'll see these are full hardbacks. So they're wonderful coffee table type books. And what's quite incredible is that these are produced on demand. And what we mean by that is that they're produced as and when they're needed. So since we started the publishing company 20 years ago, we were the world's first completely digital publisher. So our impact on the environment is absolutely minimalized. We don't produce loads of books and put them in a warehouse. They're produced as they're needed. And it's only in the last couple of years that being able to produce color books like this has actually even been possible. So the printers that we're working with have print facilities in America, in the UK, in Australia, and they're expanding out around the world. So anybody, anywhere in the world can order one of these books. It gets printed and it gets shipped out. And in fact, we had a order today, just today, from a place called Oulu in Finland. I'm saying it wrong probably. Sampo can help me with that, but it's Oulu. So somebody come on the website today and just placed an order, and we put it straight onto the printer. So that will be heading its way off to Finland sometime next week.
Wow.
So we have David on the line from Rome. David may be happier to post some comments into the chat box, but we also have Nick Cardillo, who is the author who wrote the piece, the story, The Adventure of the Burning Man, on the line as well. So, David, if you would like to put some words into the chat box, I'm happy to. Hello from Roma, he says. Hi, David. Nick, you're on the line. If you want to come on and say a few words, that would be wonderful. But if you want to put something into the chat box as well, that'd be great. David sends his best regards from Rome and says he's very happy to be here as well. So that's great. So just check in with Nick. Nick, do you want to say a few words, or shall we pop on to the next piece?
It's very, very exciting to be here, and I'm really, really honored to be a part of this book. The art is absolutely incredible. I can't wait till I actually get to see it in person in my own copy. This story is a favorite of mine. It was really fun to write a couple of years ago. It's one that parts of it have really, really stuck with me. My own sort of homage to the great 70s campy horror movie, The Wicker Man. And I am really, really honored again to have it included in this collection.
Yeah, so I mean, this piece is really quite stunning, and I think one of the hopes that we have as we come out of the pandemic is that some of the pieces, the ones that haven't been sold, we're going to hope to see if we can bring them together. But certainly, we're going to be putting the Burning Man, the Adventure of the Burning Man, into the gallery along with all the other pieces. The next piece is
just Steve, for 1 second. Nick, I want you to know this, and for everybody, when I read your story, what I was looking for was an artist who would be ethereal, very mysterious, and a little otherworldly. When I found David, his work, and I don't know if you've gone on his website, when you see his work in general, I immediately knew, oh my God, this would be perfect for this story. And David was great working with him for you. And so that's a little bit of the background why he was chosen for your story.
Fantastic. Thanks, Phil. And David has put a big smiley face and a thank you into the chat box. Fantastic.
And also, you're both Italian, so I figured that would help.
Yeah. So, Nick, do you speak Italian?
Not at all. No.
No. Okay. There you go. All right. So we move on to the next piece, which is piece number 44 in the overall collection, and a quite spellbinding picture. This one. What I found with this piece, I know Natalia wasn't able to join us this afternoon, but she sends her best regards. She sent me an email this morning to say hi to everybody, and Natalia's from Poland. All I can say, I keep going back to this piece because I keep finding new things in it. And maybe, Phil, you want to say a couple of words about this one?
Well, again, when I read Jerry's story, for some reason, I just kept thinking something abstract. Natalia, her work is abstract. And there's a fluidity of brush movement and incredible choice of color. When you look at this thing, even though it's just a painting, to me, it feels like it's moving. It's actually breathing, kind of. And that's why I chose Natalia for Jerry's story.
And Jerry's from Ireland, by the way, and she's produced many books. We've published 3 of her her novels. Her first one was called A Biased Judgment, and she does a lot of short stories for us for our different collections. The next picture, again, William can't be with us this afternoon, but he sends his best regards. I've been lucky enough to actually meet William in person at one of his exhibitions in London, and this is an incredible painting. I guess speaks for itself in terms of William is a portrait painter, and this is from a story by Robert Perrott. And Phil, what I mean, I was blown away when I first saw this one. What were your thoughts when you spoke to William?
When I first saw this painting, as Steve had said, I was just, my mouth went open. I didn't expect anything as fine art as this is. I wanted, because of Robert Perrett's story, somebody that would be able to portray women in a languid kind of a mode, and ethereal, again, beautiful. When I found William and I took a look at all of his work and I contacted him, I knew that it would be perfect. When I saw this piece, though, it goes beyond that. The little treasure chest, the jewelry, everything, the window, the placement of the figure, all of this just in one little painting brings to life the entire story, as all of you've done for your stories, but that's why William was chosen for Robert.
Yeah, it's interesting in the books that we get. You'll see this is the only landscape painting in the book. Across the collection, I think we have 5 that have been done in landscape. We love them because, you know, when we produce the prints and like the Conan Doyle estate have done this, what you'll notice is that in the book we have to take part of the image out to fit it onto the page. Whereas with the portrait, we're able to capture almost the whole paintings inside the book. So we lose a little bit in the book, but it's still pretty stunning off the page as well. The next one's super fun. I really love this, and the author Gail contacted me via Messenger. She's not able to come today, but she told me how much she loved this painting. Phil, this is super fun. This is Diego from the US. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Diego had appeared in my United States edition, the USA edition, beforehand. And in that one, he did the circus thing. He was crazy. Diego himself, the character of him, because I've gotten to know him a bit, he is just the most fun-loving, crazy kind of an artist, the kind of artist that you all, you know, like a Salvador Dali type. That's Diego. Anyway, I knew when I read Gail's story that with his sense of humor and his craziness and silliness, it would be perfect for this. And you can see here the voodoo dolls and the alligator and all of this going on. That's Diego's sense of humor. Fit perfectly.
Fantastic. And the next one's really Sampo, yeah.
Well, again, Sampo is not with us anymore. I don't see him here.
Let's see.
My wife is, so you all know, my wife is from Helsinki. So anybody from Finland, I'm fond of.
And Sampo's back online. So
hey, Sampo. So you all know, hyvä päivä is good day. And then they go, päivä päivä. And that's the only Finnish that I know, except for some bad things that my wife has taught me. When I read Richard's story, I wanted someone who would be able to evoke at the same time of romance, but danger. When I saw Sampo's work on his website, I said, gee whiz, I mean, this is perfect. He will be able to meld everything together. And as you see here, there's love, but there's danger. He's holding a knife or whatever, the murder weapon, and the ship in the background. And Sampo gave it this dark kind of a feeling that to me brought out the story even more. because it was like looking through a hazy window on what could be, what might happen. So thank you, Sampo.
Sampo, how was it to do the painting?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, thanks. Had a little problems. It was a very great experience, actually. But in the first place, I was waiting for the story to be located somewhere in dark London alleys, and I thought that would be great for my style of painting. And then it was actually, this one was in Tahiti, which is very colorful and summery place. So it made a bit, had to think it again. But then I thought that in Tahiti, the nights are also very dark, so I can use my style there. And this is located in the dark harbor with the ship and the main character here. And I'm actually very happy with the painting. You can't see it, but it's next to me here, and I'm in my studio where I painted this. And thank you for inviting me, Phil.
Kiitos paljon, which in Finnish is thank you very much. That's another something I remembered from my wife teaching me.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Next up, a big contrast in terms of colors here. Alvarenga Marques from Portugal. I know actually we have one of our fans, in fact, one of our super fans, Pedro, is dialed in from Portugal. So hi, Pedro, feel free to send some messages to us on the chat window. Phil, tell us a little bit about this. We also have the author on the line as well, Dan. Maybe if we start with Dan, tell us a bit about the story.
Well, most of the stories that I write about Sherlock Holmes take an angle on Holmes and literature. And I went after one of my all-time favorite short stories, Guy de Maupassant's The Necklace, the story of the woman who borrows a necklace that she thinks is worth a whole lot of money and then loses it and spends the rest of her life just about trying to repay for the lost necklace. And it turns out at the end of the story that the necklace was fake and she didn't have to ruin her life at all. But what I wanted to tell was why it was that Sherlock Holmes always has this attitude that he shares with Watson about not trusting writers to tell the truth. And as it turns out, he is involved before he ever meets Watson with a stolen necklace story, which involves a robbery, and he ultimately returns the necklace. But he tells this to Guy de Maupassant, whom he has met at the funeral of his grandmother in France. And Maupassant takes this ordinary robbery story and converts it into this great short story that has nothing to do with the truth. And it has soured Sherlock Holmes on literary people ever after. So that's what Watson has to deal with. That's the premise of the story.
Fantastic. And Phil, Alvarenga can't join us, but tell us a little bit about how you selected for this.
Well, based upon what Daniel has just told everybody, when I read the story, there's this poor woman, what she went through in her life because of that necklace. I wanted something a little to be able to portray the torment of a woman, the cycles of the torment that the woman will be going through, and this oh God, I wish you could see me. My arms are going like this mishmash of terror and torture that she had to subject herself through in the life. And I wanted a little bit of color, a little bit of splash because of what happens in the story. And I loved Alvarenga's work, and that was it.
Fantastic. And Alvarenga was actually born in Mozambique.
May I ask a question about this? I'm curious as to the writing in the work. Does that signify anything? The lettering?
Oh, who's asking that? Daniel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel. All of this has to do with the story. There are clues in your story which are shown here in the painting. And all of this, from her interpretation, comes out of your story. Like, for instance, in our first book, which was a West Palm Beach book,
Right.
we had the name of, there was an artist, Tracy Guiteau, who literally painted in the name of the story in the painting, but you could hardly find it. And if you take a look at what she's done here, she has all of these words, numbers that are reflective of her in your story. Now, you may take things literally because you're a writer. Artists take things, and God knows what goes on in an artist's mind to portray what they think the writer has created. So don't take it too literally, but those are clues coming out of your story.
Are they in English?
No.
Okay.
So I predict that Daniel will be spending some time with Google Translate a bit later today to try and work out what's going on in there.
I think we all will.
Yeah.
No, there's one thing in there that says, I think, El Te Amo, which means I love you. So, but you know, it's really funny, Dan, I never asked her about that particular thing because, again, I just remember I love you. Again, in the story, it's about love and trying to redeem something that you love. Anyway, there you go.
Interesting. Thank you.
No,
Fantastic.
thank you.
And while we've been talking, I see that Lito has joined us from Switzerland as well, which is good timing because we haven't got to her piece yet. So if Lito wants to talk about her piece, then when we get there, or Lito wants to use the chat window, she can put some comments in as well. We have another fan, also another Pedro from Portugal, who has joined and is watching and has said hello. So hi to Pedro from Portugal as well. The next piece, and we do know that Ibrahim is on the line from Oman, so we will get Ibrahim to tell us a bit about this amazing piece. It was written by an author, Mike Hogan, who we've known for many, many years, published loads of books and loads of stories from Mike. Mike has lived all over the world. Not sure quite where he is right now, but this is one of my favorite stories of his, The Skull of Kohada Koheiji. Ibrahim, tell us a little bit about this piece.
Well, the story actually has a huge cultural festival of, the backdrop is this cultural festival of Japan. And so I wanted to take elements of that Japanese minimalist style and have the and still have opulence of the gold background and the rising sun. And there is a samurai character in the story, and one of the main revelations is about this child who drives the narrative forward, and the child is very intriguing and has different layers to him. So I wanted to create that story with the painting.
It's fantastic. It looks amazing in the book as well, Ibrahim. It's fantastic, and you're dialing in from Oman as well.
Yes, I mean, when Phil first contacted me, I was in disbelief. I didn't really believe the project, and so it was really interesting to be a part of something so special. That it's really been an honor and incredible that I got to be a part of this project. And thank you to everybody and Phil for contacting me and giving me this opportunity.
Well, Ibrahim, it was my pleasure. We missed each other by a few hours. This is funny, going back 2 years ago, I was at Art Basel in Miami. Yes. And I saw Ibrahim's work and spoke with his representative, and the rep said, oh, well, Gailani will be here in, like an hour, 2 hours, whatever. Unfortunately, Ibrahim got delayed, and then I had to leave, so we missed each other. But He's been a pleasure to work with, as are you all have been. And Ibrahim, thank you for your kind words.
Thank you. This has really been, it's really been, I don't have words for it. It's such a pleasure to be part of this project.
Well, thank you.
Fantastic. And the next piece just shows the difference that you can have in a book like this in terms of art. Hildegard isn't available to join us this afternoon, but Phil, tell us about this piece. It's got to be up there with one of the most unusual pieces in the entire collection, I think.
Well, I don't know if unusual is the right word. This is very Picasso-esque to me in some of his pieces. James Moffat's work was about this, well, as it says, Kensington Conundrum. However, there's integral, interwoven love and caring in this story. When I took a look at Hildegard's work, I saw that she was capable of doing that kind of a thing. Then she showed me the, the rough, and oh my God, this is going to be incredible. And if you take a look at it, you see these three characters, but there's a tenderness. They're holding each other, cradling each other. And for all of you artists that are here now, if you remember, when I contacted you, I said, I'm not going to interfere with anything that you do. All I want you to do is show me your rough, and that's it. If I have a suggestion or whatever, but all of you are left to do what you wanted to do. And that gets the best of any artist when you're free. And Hildegard, same thing, the interwoven beauty, warmth, love. So that's Hildegard.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's a really wonderful piece from a piece of writing by James Moffat, who's again very, very experienced Sherlock Holmes writer with loads and loads of stories. Next up is Lito Lama, and Lito is on the line. I'm just going to turn on in case Lito would like to say hello. Lito, good afternoon. If Lito wants to put something on the chat window, that's great too. But while Lito looks for the microphone, on the chat window, so no microphone. Hi, I hope everybody is well. It's lovely to hear everybody and meet everybody. So hi, Lito, dialing in from Switzerland. This is a story written by a very important guy in the Sherlock Holmes world. All the authors on the line will know David Markham's name. David holds the world record for the most amount of Sherlock Holmes stories edited. He's edited over 500 Sherlock Holmes stories now. He's just actually heading towards breaking another record. He's actually written more than 60 Sherlock Holmes stories himself now. So he's gone past, he wanted to go past 60 because that's how many that Conan Doyle wrote in his lifetime, the creator of Sherlock Holmes. So David has now reached 60, so he's got one more to go to get past the great Conan Doyle. But I think Lito has done an amazing job with this story. It's a beautiful painting. I love this one, and it jumps. It looks so fantastic in the book as well with the colors. Phil, you probably want to say a few words about this.
First of all, David Markham will be locked up in an insane asylum because of all of the work that the poor man has been doing. He's like going crazy. His story was intricate, layered, layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, very intricate. When I saw Leto's work, I knew that here was an artist that would be able to portray David's story in a very interesting way, because when you first look at this, you go, huh, what? As far as all of the people's faces, it's almost, again, layer upon layer upon layer. And there she is, the centerpiece, the coffee house girl holding, well, this is the mystery of the box, with the IOU on her necklace, the pearls, which is another clue to the story. But Leto's work is always like this, layered and layered, and for the story, perfect. So it's simple as that.
Fantastic. And I think the format of the book, if you go back, think back to me showing you the picture of the book, the way we've laid the book out is pretty deliberate. So when you open the book, you see the profile of the artist and author. So you get to read a little bit about them and a little bit about their work. And then you see the picture. And then comes the story. So you have the entire story in full in the book. And what we've had back from the fans is that they love this format, because at first you get a feel for the writer and you get a feel for the artist by reading their profile. You get to look at the piece of work, absorb it, then read the story, and then go back again and look at the art. So it's kind of a process that enables you to see the piece of art first, read the story, and then go back. And I totally agree with Phil. This is one of those paintings that absolutely fits that format. I loved this painting when I first looked at it. Then I read the story. I read the story twice because it's, as you said, it's layer upon layer in the story. Then I went back to look at the painting, and I just remember sitting there just looking at the painting for the picture for many minutes after having read the story, because it kind of really fitted the story so well. So wonderful work, Leto, and it's one of my favorite pieces in the book. The next one is a really stunning piece, and I'm not going to take any words on this, because I'm going to give that to the artist who's on the line. So Mark, I know you're dialed in from a small island in Sweden.
That's right. A small island called Gotland. Oh, okay. My work is from the Broken Watch, and I just want to say, Phil, thank you very much for giving me this story. I think time in my own work is very important, the concept of time. So when you presented me with this story, I immediately I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the whole concept of the story. So basically, what you see in front of you is a sculpture and a painting. So basically, I decided to do a painting, which you see in front of you, of this man that's sort of, time is twisted, time is uncertain. And what you see is just the front door to an actual inner working of a clock. So I wanted to use I found an old grandfather's clock, took it apart, found the gears for it, and reassembled it into my artwork, so that there's a symbolic underlining feeling towards the painting. So when you open up the door, which is the painting, you see his eye, you see the stars, because it's all based around the story itself of the time of death and the mystery of discovery. That's what I wanted to try to capture in this painting, because when I was reading the story, it was very much like that for me. It was exploring the writer's ideas and Sherlock Holmes's way of working, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted just to make it more. It's obviously it's a two-dimensional surface, and I understand that, but I just wanted to create something more than just a painting, but more of an experience, so that when I sent the photos to Phil and to the publishers, I gave them this one and the inner workings of the painting. It's all done with antique frames and antique pieces that kind of based around Sherlock Holmes's time and period of the 1800s, early 1900s. So yeah, it's time. It's just that's basically what it's about.
Well, I want to thank you, Mark. I'm looking at the other full painting that you had given, that you had submitted. I wish I could show this to everybody with the gold frame around it, and part of the something coming out from the bottom now. It's such a beautiful piece. Everything would have been it would have been smaller. Steve and I made the final on what you're all seeing, but I want everybody to know that Mark really went above and beyond with this, taking this to an extra step. So thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
I was just thinking also the flexibility of the work in terms of, I think at the time when we spoke, there was probably an opportunity for an exhibition. So I wanted to create another element to the work besides just a picture, so that if you had an exhibition, it would be another element to it.
Great, and thank you for bringing that up. As you know, we were planning to have an exhibition in London for the launch of Global 2, and then COVID hit. So we're not giving up on that. Eventually, hopefully, the world will be back to normal. And of course, we will be able to then move ahead. But Mark, thank you. I completely forgot all about that. So thank you for bringing that up to the group.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Mark, from Oman, I just want to send a shout out to you saying I'm in love with this piece. So you just did a brilliant job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was this challenging work. The painting itself was, well, I'm a painter, so it came very easily for me. But I'm not much of a clocksmith. I don't know how to build clocks and how gears work. And that took me a long time to get the timing, because the eye actually turns to the time of death of the person that died in the story. So when you open it up, you just see a bunch of time, a bunch of numbers. But when you turn the handle and the gears turn, his eye turns towards the time of death, so that you discover, just like Sherlock Holmes did.
That's brilliant.
You know, you're part of the story, basically. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Incredible.
Fantastic. And we, how big is the island that you're on? I've been dying to ask this question.
Yeah. The amount of people, there's, I think, 30,000 people on the island, and it's off the coast of Sweden on the, was it the east coast in the Baltic area. And it's a small island. I would say it's, I don't know, it's maybe like, I don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
It's really small.
Fantastic.
But it's very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. Very beautiful.
Well, I hope to come and visit it when the lockdown comes. I'll jump on a plane and come see you, because I want to see this in person.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Definitely want to see this in person. The next up, Rasha can't join us today. She sends all her best. Rasha's from Egypt, and this is a story from Tim Gambrell. Again, very celebrated Sherlock Holmes writer. And this is a gorgeous piece. Really love this. Phil, tell us a bit about the Yellow Star of Cairo.
From Tim's story, I had seen Rasha's work. By the way, she worked, even though she's originally from Egypt, she works in Italy. And I saw Rasha's work, and I figured that she would be able to capture what Tim's story really embodied. Obviously, Yellow Star of Cairo, I wanted somebody originally from Egypt. The other thing too that she's able to do, as you see, there's not much color. It's duotonic, and that kind of reflects what's going on in Egypt or in the reader's mind. You don't expect splashes of color. You expect sand and darkness because of, well, what we might associate with that part of the world. And Sasha did a beautiful job about it. Also, she was the first artist to turn in the work. So, thank you, Rasha. She accomplished this in a very short period of time. And I had spoken with her as well. We were able to communicate. So simple as that.
This is another one of those paintings as well, Phil, that I really would love to see up close, because she used gold leaf in the painting as well, and that's always tough to do the painting justice in print.
Well, I think Ibrahim, you used some gold leaf, didn't you, or gold paint?
I gave the gold leaf yes, I gave the gold leaf effect.
Yeah.
But I didn't use gold leaf. I used gold paint, but
Right.
I textured it to look like gold leaf.
Right. That's what I thought. Thank you.
I love this next piece.
Yeah.
I know Yolanda, I don't think Yolanda's on the line today, but again, this very powerful piece written from a story by Tony Reynolds. Tony is a special author for us because he was really the first fiction author we ever published. Until we found Tony, we were really only publishing non-fiction, and Tony brought us some amazing stories. So this story is actually back from 2008, I think, The Adventure of the Medium. And Phil, tell us about Yolanda.
Okay, I needed something really, again, otherworldly, ethereal, because of the story. Yolanda's work reflected that. But when she sent me her rough, she sent me a couple of different choices, which I found really amazing. And this encompasses, you can see, just this specter, the spirit, grabbing the heart of the medium. So you, the viewer, go, is he a lover of her that's deceased? Is he somebody, an evil spirit trying to get to her? It's part of the mystery of the story. But when you look at this and you look at her expression, you get a sense of, again, from the story, that this is somebody she loved, she cared for, she's hearing from again, and she's almost joyous in this feeling of this otherworldly character. Yolanda's work indicated to me that she would be able to do it, and she did it magnificently.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful piece. Absolutely gorgeous. It did just on the page as well. Fantastic. It's I think it will be very popular in print format as well. It just really works nicely with the Conan Doyle seal underneath it too. So we come to our 13th piece of the evening, and then we'll do some Q&A. I have to say, I love some of the fun pieces within the collection, and Abdelaziz's piece is just wonderfully fun, lovely and bright, works fantastically on the page. And Abdelaziz is from Morocco, where I've been to Morocco a few times, and I think this captures Holmes quite brilliantly with the violin. Phil, tell us about this piece.
Okay, I want to concentrate on Abdelaziz's work first. There's a kinetic energy that comes through in this piece that seems the chair seems to be moving off of the canvas. It's actually a piece of kinetic movement going all over the place. Also, if you really take a look at the design of the chair, it's Art Deco, and I'm a big Art Deco nut. But part of the story is kind of like that. You get a sense of the craziness, the intensity of Holmes by looking at that face that he was able to capture. Shane Simmons' story about the Song of the Mudlark, for those of you who don't know what a mudlark is, in Victorian times along the banks of the Thames, these little children, mostly boys, They lived down there. There was even a play about the Mudlark and a movie made of it. Alec Guinness was in it, and he played Disraeli. And I think Irene Dunne played Queen Victoria. So that's what a Mudlark is. But when you look at this piece again, it just comes just flying off of the canvas. And Abdelaziz's work in general is beautiful. You take a look at his work on his website, and you see just everything flying off, just going, just crazy. So beautiful piece.
Fantastic. And so we've been through the 13 pieces. We have the book which is coming out on the 30th, and now we can open up for the fans that are on the line for the Q&A. We have a bunch of artists and we have a bunch of authors on, and obviously Phil as well for questions. So we're going to go to the question window and see if there are any questions. We seem to have multiple fans from Portugal for some reason on today, which is great. So hi to everybody there in Portugal. So we have 3 fans from Portugal and 3 from the UK, and also some from the US as well. So if you've got questions for the artists or the authors, then please fire them in. If any of the artists or authors have got any questions for each other, then feel free to stick your hand up, and we'll have a chat.
Come on, don't be shy. Somebody ask somebody something. Oh, one thing we have to thank. Brian, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, all of you. Brian Belanger is a designer of the covers. Brian and I work together on all of them. He is a delight to work with because he doesn't say, Phil, shut up, I'm hanging up on you. He listens to suggestions. He listens to suggestions. And also, Brian flew in from up north when we had the USA opening, was it last year? Steve and his wife Sharon were in from London. So we got to meet and party and have a good time. And it was also Brian's birthday as well. But all of the covers, Brian has designed. Thank you, Brian.
You're very welcome. And just because I've never told you to shut up doesn't mean I wasn't thinking it. But no, that was great to meet you guys. Got to do that again.
Yeah, Brian, we all think it. But I'm here in London, wearing my Art of Sherlock Holmes T-shirt. So before we got all the merchandising and the collectibles sorted out for the art, we were thinking about how we were going to do it, and Brian showed up to West Palm Beach with 3 T-shirts in his carry-on, one for me, one for him, and one for Phil. So when we walked around the gallery at West Palm Beach, where all the first 15 pieces of art were shown at the Anne Norton Sculpture Gardens, we were all in Art of Sherlock Holmes T-shirts with the cover from the first book. So we looked like we were organized, which was wonderful. And what was great was that I think 5 or 6 of the pieces from the first book sold from the gallery as well, which is wonderful. And I know that some of the pieces from the USA and Global One have sold as well. So I think once we get the virtual gallery up with all 56 pieces in it, I think that we've got the ability to put the prices of the pieces on there and contact details so that people can get in touch if they're interested in buying the originals as well. So hopefully we'll be able to get interest in those. I've got a couple of questions for the artists. I think for David, I know you're online and you're gonna answer on the chat window there in Rome, but you have multiple different characters in your painting there that you've picked up from Nick's story. What was the inspiration for the layout? The way you put the Holmes looking into the painting on the left hand side. I'm going to scroll back to.
Come ti sei ispirato per il framework? Che gli devi dire?
Okay, I'm online.
Yes, you're online. Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
We can hear you, yes.
I think, hello. I think that the task of art is to make visible what is invisible. So when Phil proposed the project to me, I understood that the goal was perfect. The mystery could be relieved, could be visible. So I work many times with the layers, with the ghost figure, and I think that Sherlock will be perfect for to make visible the real figure behind the real state.
And the Sherlock that you've got in there, David, it looks almost like a photograph of a. Is it based on a real person? It's quite a brilliant representation.
Okay, can I talk on behalf of Davide? This is Roberta. Yes, that's a real person. That's a friend of Davide, a very dear one of him. But it's not a picture. I mean, it's not a photograph. Okay. So he took inspiration from a friend of his.
Fantastic. And what? How is the friend? How did the friend react to being in the painting?
He's my friend Manlio.
Yeah, ha detto come ha reagito. Possiamo dire che l'ha comprato? No. He was absolutely amazed, you know, of the job. Davide tried with different phases, you know, and none of them were really so good. When suddenly he thought of his friend and the, you know, profile, the expression, the nose, the mouth of this friend is perfect. So when he saw his friend, he said, okay, you are my Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you can tell Mario that his face is now in probably 20 or 30 countries around the world already.
Oh.
There are, you know, there will be books, there will be prints, there will be T-shirts, there will be everything. And so Mario is, he may be the second most famous Mario, because it's probably another Mario slightly more famous.
Una faccia molto bella.
Oh, grazie. He will be happy. I don't know if Manlio, it's not Mario actually, it's Manlio. It's a difficult name.
Oh, Manlio. Okay.
Manlio would expect, but he would be happy to know he's famous.
Yes. He wants to buy the book.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. Well, we'll maybe we can send a T-shirt so that he can wear the T-shirt, and when people say who's that, he can say it's me.
Okay.
Fantastic. I think we're going to let's go back to Sampo. So has anybody got any questions for Sampo? I know I have a question. Sampo, so what inspired you to put the kosh, which I think that's a kosh behind his back. What inspired you to have him hold it behind his back?
I'm not actually sure what is kosh in Finnish, but it's there was some blunt object as many times in stories that was used in the criminal act. So it's a kind of a hint. I'm not sure what was the object really, but yeah, and it was also interesting because I already knew the criminal quite in the beginning of the story, so I didn't have to just give hints and stuff like that, and I could go directly to the crime scene where it happened and give a bit more than usually they give in those illustrations for this kind of stories. So
fantastic. And I've got, while there are no other questions coming in, I'm going to go to Ibrahim. So Ibrahim, when you found the story was based in Japan, had you done any work on Japanese things before?
Well, actually, no. This is the first time I've tried something to represent the Japanese culture, and almost all my friends who, as I was doing this, like, this is so unlike what you paint, because I usually just do very pop art portraits, and I write a lot of graffiti at the back of writing, sort of like street art. But the story was so intriguing, and I wanted to push myself to get that essence of the Japanese culture, that minimalist and that mystery, and what's really happening. And I wanted people to stare into the painting and understand that, you know, is the samurai trying to murder someone, or is he trying to protect someone? And what's the story with the child? And is there a backstory that is deeper than what you see? And so it was quite, you know, it was a little bit away from my comfort zone, but I wanted to give it a go.
Yeah, I figured I had to push him a little bit. Gee, you know, you just can't get too complacent, Ibrahim.
Yes, yes. Thank you for your push, Phil. I really
totally my pleasure.
Yeah, behind
every artist needs a little bit of kick every now and then.
Behind
we lock ourselves in our studio.
Yeah, behind every great artist, there's a great curator, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Of course.
So we have a question that's come in from Derek to Sampo. Did you get some models to pose for this painting, or how did you capture the couple?
Thanks, Derek, for the question. I didn't have live models for that, but I Googled a lot for that time. Well, what kind of clothes did sailors have that time, and what kind of ships were they possibly sailing at that time in Tahiti, from London to Tahiti or something like that? And so I got a lot of black and white photographs, and that's a combination of many photographs, and also combined with imagination to get the complete pose for those two persons. Yeah. That's the secret behind it. I'm quite a classical painter, so I always try to get the looks very, very close to real people as they are.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Oh, beautiful. And since we're in Finland with Sampo, I wanted to clue you in. Remember, Steve was talking to everybody about an order coming into Oulu. So Sampo will be able to confirm, because I just checked with my wife. Oulu is the capital where they have once a year, the World Championship Air Guitar Contest.
Woo! Yeah, that's right. I thought everybody knew that already, but then.
Well, it's not exactly the World Series or the World Cup, but yeah, now we all know.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's been wonderful meeting everybody. Just going back to the chat window for the fans, is there any final questions before we have a quick wrap up?
No questions?
No questions. Everybody's really shy today.
No.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. What I'll do is I'll cut the recording round about here. So I'll just stop the recording now.